All right, so sitting up nice and tall. Actually, you know what? Not sitting up nice and tall. Let's start on our backs with a bolster or bolster-like substance. Going long down the mat. If you want a little room, like don't be right up against the wall. And the bolster's gonna come right up into your sacrum. And you drop back. And then grab hold of opposite elbows and drop your elbows back so that they're hanging off of the bolster in space. And take a couple really big sighing exhales. And as you're doing this, you want to really let those elbows drop. So try to relax in the shoulders as much as you can. And just notice how there's probably a desire to really arch in the mid-back. So I want you at the same time to think about gently drawing your bottom ribs down towards your belly button. So that you really get the stretch from like that bottom rib up through the whole rib cage, through the side body, into the underarm, the chest, and into the collarbones. And then you're going to bring the arms up and just see which way you've got them crossed, which is probably the most comfortable way. You're gonna uncross them and then cross them in the opposite direction, which probably feels real weird. And then do the same thing. You're going to reach your arms straight back behind you and turn your palms towards each other so your thumbs look down. And reach through the arms, but relax through the shoulders. So you're just essentially lengthening the elbows, but softening in the shoulders and thinking about dropping those thumbs down to the floor. And all the while, we're still working on just very gently keeping the upper abdominals engaged enough so that we don't arch too much in the mid-back, and we really get this more through the front body and side bodies than a back bend. We really want to take this through the front body and through the shoulders. then turn the palms towards the sky and just take the arms a little bit wider to like a very narrow Y. And this is where it might start to feel really intense. And I want you to think about gently drawing your shoulder blades down your back, because it'll be more intense in the level of bone on bone discomfort if you're allowing the shoulders to shrug up. So pull the shoulders down. If you're really hypermobile through your shoulders, you might actually need to take yourself up higher onto like a two bolster kind of height, and then bring your hips up onto a block. Take the arms a little wider out into a more normal sized Y. Again, pull the shoulders down the back. So you're kind of gently squeezing the shoulder blades together. Then bend the elbows and come down to, so that your elbows are the same height as your shoulders and your hands are back, so cactus arms. And this is going to be a little more active. So first we're just going to chill here, letting the arms drop out. And then we're going to bring some internal external rotation into this. So bringing rotation into it, you're going to keep the elbows right where they are, but just turn or internally rotate so that the hands come so they point straight up at the sky, and then keep going as far as they'll go without letting your shoulders rise up. So you'll be able to go further if you let the shoulders rise up, but you might also get some pinching through your collarbones. And really, we want our range of motion to come from a passive position, not from a super active one where our shoulders are drawn up. So just hang in here for a breath or two. And then start to rotate externally all the way back. And while you're doing this, pay very close attention to the sensation of your shoulder blades. Rotate inwards again. So the sensation of your shoulder blades on the bolster as you're doing this movement, you want to feel those shoulder blades moving. So we're just going to move back and forth at our own pace here, paying careful attention to what's happening in my shoulder blades. So when the arms are up, the bottom points of the shoulder blades are going to be in. And when the hands are down, you're going to feel those shoulder blades widen across the bottom. This is a great movement to do on the therapy balls. So when they're like in their little tote and you've got them with the spine right in between the two, probably with the knees bent and feet on the floor. And find a good hot spot where you're not feeling a whole ton of mobility in the shoulder blades, where it feels like, oh, that feels like it should be moving, but it's not. Put them right in there and then do this. But right now we're just kind of trying to bring some mental awareness into our shoulder blades and working with getting a little more mobility. Whew. And then the next time that your fingers point straight up, you're going to leave them there. Turn the palms towards each other. Reach the arms out, airplane style, and then drop them down. Let the elbows be heavy here. So passive motion or passive moment after all of that somewhat intense shoulder opening. And then roll over onto one side, pull that bolster out, slide it in under your knees, and take a moment here to really let those shoulders release, flat on your back. Okay, we're going to come into passive side stretch. And it's kind of a variation. I'll show you the variation of what it is. So this pose that we do on our side, it's essentially the passive version of this. So how it works is you're going to come onto your back, legs as wide as your mat. And you're going to take your right leg and cross your right ankle over your left. And just notice how there may or may not be a lift happening in that right hip. So if that's happening, you want to think about really softening down through that right hip. And then you're going to take your arms up into a wide Y. And you're going to reach that right arm over towards the left. And then if you'd like, you can kind of grab hold with the left hand and give it a little tug as you relax down onto the floor. And notice the desire possibly for that whole right side of the body to peel away from the floor. Imagine that somebody is placing their hands on your right hip and your right rib cage and just gently pressing them down. Now, if you've got like a weighted sandbag or a something that's a little heavy and comfortable, you can always drape that across the rib cage, across the pelvis. I miss having sandbags in yoga classes. I got so spoiled in San Francisco. I was actually thinking about that while I was teaching tonight, what a special city San Francisco is and what a special time I had there. Just working at Yoga Tree and working at the Mindful Body, where I had just the most amazing props. Every prop you could imagine in a yoga studio that was also a massage studio. And I didn't realize at the time that that's not a normal thing in the world, but I've never found any place that is kind of like a wellness center. And there were two beautiful ones. There were more than just two. It was International Orange and all sorts of stuff in San Francisco. And 'tis not the same in the rest of the world. I feel very blessed to have had those experiences and spoiled. And now I miss sandbags. So I highly recommend buying one or making one. I mean, it's not that hard. Get a sack, get some dirt, fill it up, sew it up, plop it on your rib cage. It's glorious. Okay, so we start by releasing the right arm back out to kind of a Y, but let the elbows bend a bit. And then release that right leg as wide as the mat. And just take a second here and kind of like a floppy Shavasana. And then cross the left ankle over the right. Reach that left arm across, grab hold of the left wrist with the right hand. I'm going to give it a little tug before you completely relax into it. And then notice how that left hip and left rib cage and shoulder want to pop up a little bit. And imagine somebody pressing them down. And again, if you've got something a little bit heavy, you can place it across the pelvis and across the rib cage. Releasing the left arm, releasing the left leg, floppy shavasana. Bend both of the knees, feet to the floor. Let's take a little twist here. Just hugging the knees in. Dropping the knees over to the left, releasing the right arm out to the right. Bringing the knees back center with an exhale. And then dropping them over to the right. Ooh, left arm out. Inhale deeply. Exhale back center. Grab the backs of the knees and roll yourself up. We're going to come around and do a wide knee child's pose. I am just going to grab some support for my knees. So if you've got any knee issues or ankle issues, towels are your friend. You just roll them up. If it's an ankle thing, it goes in under the ankle. If it's a knee thing, it goes right behind the knee. We're going to come into wide knee child's pose. So big toes together, knees wide apart. You can have a bolster if you want. Lying down. See, and this is a great place for a sandbag right across your low back. If you've got something weighted. And if you are on a bolster and you've got your head turned to the side, switch sides that your head is on. and rolling up. If you've got a bolster, set it off to the side. We're going to move into traditional child's pose, as my chiropractor was trying to call it today, baby pose. I asked him after my appointment, what would be a really good pose to bring into my yoga classes tonight? And he was like, see if you can talk them into just doing baby pose for the entire class. So knees together, toes together. You can have your head resting on the floor or a block or a bolster. And if you've got your hands out in front of you, bring them around behind you or alongside of you. And really let those shoulder blades go so that everything kind of scrunches up towards the head and towards the floor. And it might feel more comfortable to turn your head sideways here. If you've turned your head to one side, you'll turn it to the other. And we'll slowly come up. So next pose is one of my favorite for stretching out the mid and upper back. I'll show it to you first because if I talk you into it, you'll just be like, what the hell is she talking about? It's called rabbit pose. I've spent a lot of time in my life wondering why it's called rabbit pose. And I have recently decided it is because rabbits can like burrow into their bellies and like clean themselves. And it's really a strong like burrowing action in towards your belly. So that's my hypothesis. Who knows what the truth is? So the important thing to remember in this pose is that the weight is not on the crown of your head. It is actually your head is just a fulcrum. Your weight is actually going to be hanging off of your hands, which are going to be attached to your heels. So if you find that you don't have the shoulder mobility, you can always have the option of taking a strap and looping it around your heels. So I'll show you what it looks like, and I'll talk to you as if we were going into it while I show it to you. That way you'll hear it twice. So if you're gonna probably need that strap, then you just kind of loop it behind and leave it there. Start off by rounding your head down onto the floor. And you lift your hips up and you kind of walk your head back and then grab hold of either the heels or the strap. And then you really lift the hips up. And you think about the space right behind your heart as reaching for the wall past your head. So the head is tucked in as close to the knees as it can get. And then you use your hips to push yourself over, stretching between the shoulder blades. So it's important to have a good grip on the heels. I always find it hard to have a grip on my heels. So the strap is really nice. And then just focus the breath, okay? So flex the feet, round the head, top of the head on the mat. Walk your forehead in as close as you can get. Grab hold of a strap or your heels, and then use your butt to lift you up and push through the shoulder blades towards the wall. Very, very little weight in your head. And you focus your breath between your shoulder blades. And then to back out, you just bring your hips back down towards your heels, release your hands, release your feet, and take a child's pose. Roll yourself up. Come around onto your butt. And extend your legs out. Ooh, give them a little shake. Maybe give the knees a little rub because they've been bent for a while. All right, feet are going to be about hip width apart. It can be nice. Put a block between your ankles because then you're really kind of hip width apart. Ooh. We're taking a forward fold here. Optional strap. And if you are going to use a strap, you want to take it across the front of the toes and wrap it around the balls of the feet so that it comes back towards you. Okay. And then you use that. So part of the reason why it's nice to have a strap here, even if you can easily touch your toes, is that the strap gives you the ability to come out of that upper back shoulder situation, which usually looks something like this, and into more of a flat back and back strengthening, okay? Because when we have chest, shoulder, and neck pain, it's typically, and even upper back pain, it's typically because the back muscles are too loose, they're too stretched out, and the chest is too tight. So we live so much of our life with our chest kind of rounding forwards. This gets really tight in the back. When you're having pain up here, it's typically your back going like, hey man, give me a break. So we've done so much stretching and opening. So we're doing a little bit of strengthening here. If you don't have a strap, you always can grab hold and kind of work that same idea of elbows back. So like a rowing machine, that's essentially what we're doing. Now, when you do this, because of the way the strap is, it might feel like your toes kind of sickle in. So I want you to really push through the ball of your big toe as you pull back. So you're getting some good foot ankle strengthening and you're getting some upper back strengthening. So we come into the forward fold by dropping the elbows and pulling them back, widening the collarbones, and then a really strong push right into the strap at the ball of the foot, medially. So big toe. And the head is just kind of hanging out. Widen the collarbones. And then release. Unloop your feetsies. Take the feet about as wide as the mat. Give everything a little shake. And then fold forward, but this time let the head go. So it's much more of a yin passive pose. Moving up. Do a little Pilates for a moment. So you're gonna have the arms out, shoulder height, palms up. What we're gonna do is twist to the right and then tip forward. So a little bit of forward fold here. So your fingers are reaching to the outside of that right foot. Left finger's outside of the right foot. And as you do this, draw your left hip back and try to open up the chest. So don't want to be here. We want to be nice and open. So how this is going to work is we're going to exhale, and it's a pulse up. Like 2 exhales as we pulse, and really opening up through there, okay? We inhale all the way up, and then we exhale the opposite way. Exhale, pulse, okay? Make some more room for myself. Okay, so it speeds up. We inhale, exhale and twist. Inhale, exhale. 1, 2. Inhale, exhale. 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 Nice. Bring the legs back to hip width. Bend your right knee. Make a little pocket for my knee again. And hug that knee in nice and tight. And typically that kind of rounds your weight backwards. So you're gonna lift up onto your left sitting bones. So the right sitting bone is probably gonna be up off the floor a little bit so that you can get really tall. And then tip yourself forwards, and maybe you can pull your right hip back and set it back down. It's not really that important. But I want you to take, so I'll do it the opposite way for a second, just so you can see what my left hand is doing. My left hand is back here, assisting me forward, okay? So left hand is in the back, pushing me forwards. I'm working that right hip down, but it's not necessary for it to be down. I don't want you to really obsess over it, but just, you know, you don't want it like way up in the air. So the idea is eventually someday it's still down on the ground. This right hand is going to come through and it can reach for the inside of that foot, or it can take a strap, whatever option works for you. That right foot is tucked in as tight as it'll go. And we are sliding in along that right inner thigh and try to think about that right hip, maybe reaching down. And as you're grabbing hold of the strap or the foot, bend the elbow and pull your right shoulder back into your right knee. So we're still getting a little bit of that rowing action going on. And drop the right hip down, come up. Right arm comes up and back. You can either grab hold of the leg like this or cross the elbow like this. Just whatever works in your body to get you around into a twist. Release, come on back center, extend the leg. And the left leg, hug that heel in nice and tight. Right hand pushes me forward, left hand reaches for the foot or for the strap. Left hip is sinking down towards the floor as my chest and shoulders come through. And then I'm bending the left elbow and pulling my left shoulder blade backwards. And release, come on up. hand behind you, right arm either wraps around or hooks over, whatever feels good. And take a twist looking over that left shoulder. Unwind. Release that left leg out. And we'll nestle down for Shavasana. Give the hips a little wiggle once you get down on your back. You might even get, after that last pose, a little bit of an adjustment through the sacrum. Deepening your breath. Bending your knees, feet to the floor. Take a second to let your low back soften towards the mat. I'm gonna roll on over to one side. Pressing yourself up. Coming back to seated. Couple of really full breaths here. Bring your palms together at your heart center. Take a moment to just be grateful for this life, for this body, for the house you're living in, for the food you eat. Namaste.